Okay. So, like I said, welcome. If you haven't been here before, my name is Sarah. We're going to start in a comfortable seated position. So if that means something a little bit different than this for you today, that's totally fine. The legs can be long, the knees can be bent, and the feet can be planted. However is comfortable for you right here. And we're just going to get started bringing some awareness to our bodies and our breathing, and then we'll start to get moving a little bit as usual. So when you found that comfortable seated position, the very first thing that I want you to do is allow your gaze to soften down towards the floor. Allow your eyes to close, whichever is more comfortable for you. And then go ahead and take a moment and just find a little bit of awareness about how you're feeling today, where any points of tension might be, where maybe you're a little bit sore or tired, and conversely, where you're maybe feeling particularly good today, where you're feeling refreshed and rejuvenated from your weekend. So just taking a scan of the body and starting from the top of the head and moving down through the muscles in the face, the neck, the shoulders, the arms down through the hands, into the torso, through your core, your upper and lower back, through those hips, the glutes, down through the legs, all the way to the tips of your toes. Once you've taken this a little bit of time to notice how you're feeling, I want you to start to deepen through your inhales and exhales here. As you do that, I want you to take this moment to send those next couple of big, deep exhales to those points of tension that you found. Try and find a little bit of relaxation, a little bit of release of that tension. So if that's letting your tongue relax away from the roof of your mouth, if that's letting your shoulders relax a little bit more, maybe you give your lower back a little bit of a release. And then bringing your notice specifically to your breath, finding a couple of nice deep inhales and exhales. As you inhale, finding a nice expansion through the lungs. So as you pull that air in, finding expansion through the chest, through the rib cage, through the belly, maybe finding a little bit of extra length through the spine as you find that. And then with that exhale, finding that little bit of relaxation again. So relaxing the shoulders and allowing the lungs to compress as you get rid of that air. I'm trying to find a nice cycle of air. So we're breathing in fresh air. We're exhaling that stale air that's been in the lungs for a little while. With our next breath, we're going to start to find our range of motion as we connect it to our breath. So starting nice and easy with our spinal twists. Next big inhale, find that nice long spine at center. Extending out through the top of the head towards the ceiling. With your exhale, go ahead and twist over to one side, bringing that opposite hand to the outside of that knee, and that arm around behind, opening up those shoulders, looking over that back shoulder. Next big inhale brings us through center, find that long spine again, exhale to that other side. And from here, just taking a couple of breaths in each direction, finding that spinal twist, moving at your pace. So if you're breathing a little bit faster or slower than I am, feel free to move a little bit faster or slower. If you need a little bit of a hold in that spinal twist, or maybe to reach that arm around instead of bringing it to that knee to find a little deeper of a twist, go ahead and find that if it feels good. If it doesn't, just keep it moving with this nice spinal twist side to side, waking it up, getting us going, and connecting our breathing to our range of motion. A couple more times here. Go ahead, give me one more time on each side. So 2 more nice deep breaths, making sure you're finding that long spine through center. That nice twist on those last 2 sides. And then when you finish those 2 nice deep breaths, go ahead and bring it back to center with that nice long spine. And we're gonna actually kind of get moving a little bit faster today. So rather than staying seated, we're gonna bring it over to hands and knees and find our cat and cow. So whether you're facing the short edge of your mat and you wanna just roll forward, or if you wanna turn to the side and find that nice length of your mat, making sure that the wrists are underneath the shoulders, that the knees are underneath the hips, so we have a nice stable base. And then when you get here, we've got our inhale and exhale into our cat and cow. So our cow is with that inhale, it drops the belly towards the floor, the tailbone and the head come up towards the ceiling. With your exhale, you're gonna round the spine up towards the ceiling like a scaredy cat, tucking the tailbone in, tucking the chin in, and then same as that final twist, I want you to flow with your breath here. So again, if you're moving a little bit faster or slower than me, keeping on going at whatever pace feels good. Same thing, waking up the spine, getting us moving, connecting our breath to our range of motion, and just finding our flexion and extension instead of our spinal twist here. As you come into those cats, making sure that not only are you tucking the chin in towards the chest, but also giving your head and neck a moment to relax down towards the floor. All right, give me 3 more nice deep breaths right here. Nice big inhales and exhales, 3 times in each direction. When you finish that third, bringing it right back to that center, nice long spine, nice neutral neck. Those wrists are still right underneath the shoulders. Those knees are still right underneath the hips. We're gonna go into our spinal twist from here. So I want you to take that right hand, and as we open up, reach it towards the ceiling, open up the chest towards that side wall. And then as you exhale, we're gonna curl it down under. We're not bringing the shoulder towards the floor just yet, but we're just gonna find a spinal twist in the opposite direction. So reaching the right hand under the body. Couple of times on that right side. That inhale opens us up nice and long towards the ceiling. That exhale pulls us down and through. And I'm gonna stay on that same side, so I'll let you know when to switch those arms. If you're already switching them side to side, keep going with that. That's fine too. But finding this activation not only through the shoulders and that stabilizing wrist, also through the core as we find our spinal twist. Give me twice more on this side if you're on that single side. And as soon as you finish those last 2, go ahead and take it on that opposite side. Same thing if you're already switching side to side, because that's how you started. Keep on going with that. Couple more times in each direction there. When you get to that left side, same thing. Opening up towards that opposite wall, and then just curling that arm underneath for that opposite direction spinal twist. Nice. So finding that activation through the shoulders, through the core as we twist, through the stabilizing wrist on the floor. Give me twice more on this side. If you were alternating, finishing out those last 2, and then bring it back to center. We're gonna find 1 more spinal twist. So as soon as you get back here, or 1 more in each direction. So as soon as you get back here, I want you to take that right arm, reach up towards the ceiling with that next inhale. And then our next exhale is gonna bring us down towards the floor. This time we are gonna pause. So I want you to go ahead and take that shoulder down onto the floor, take that arm underneath, those hips stay high. And then with this arm, you've got the option to either lengthen it long or bring it around behind the back for a little bit of a deepening of that spinal twist. So we're just hanging out down here in this lower end of the spinal twist. The shoulder meets the floor, finding that opening. Like I said, if you want to find that half bind, bringing that arm around behind the back, opening up through those shoulders. If you found that half bind with that next exhale, go ahead and extend that arm long. Pull it back in underneath the shoulder, pressing up, placing that right hand back down on the mat, and then we've got that same thing on the left side. That next inhale reaches us up, opening up through the chest toward that opposite wall. Our exhale brings us down, places the shoulder down onto the floor. That arm comes long. This arm, again, you've got the option to lengthen it out or bring it around behind the back for that half bind to open up through those shoulder blades a little bit more. I need a couple of nice deep breaths here. Awesome. If you found that half bind, go ahead and extend that arm long, and then go ahead and everyone float underneath that shoulder. Bring it back on up to hands and knees, and we're nice and stable right in center. Okay, we're gonna get working a little bit on a variation of our plank up next. So I've got a little challenge for you guys. Option, if you've got any kind of wrist pain, you can bring it down to the elbows. It gives you a little bit less range of motion, but you'll get also some really good work through the core for this. If we're feeling good on the wrists, you can keep it high here. What I want you to do is take that right leg and bring it back towards that back wall. And then we're going to take a second here to just find a little calf stretch. So bringing it forward and backward, pressing that heel back. So we're just shifting a little bit forward over those fingertips, and then bringing that, pressing through that heel to find a calf stretch. So if you're down on those elbows, it looks about the same, but you can just kind of press back through those elbows a little bit more. And this is going to get us prepared for our down dog. All right, give me one more nice big calf stretch towards the back. So one more time, press that heel back, nice big stretch, and then bring it back to just a neutral. So the toe stays, or the leg stays long, the toe is on the floor, as if we're going to press up into our plank. Now, instead of bringing that left foot back to meet the right, all we're going to do is I want you to start by engaging from the front of the body, from the top of the body. So I want you to engage through the shoulders. Think about activating through the muscles of the upper body. Think about opening up those shoulder blades, so kind of pulling the upper back towards the ceiling. From here, all we're going to do is as you activate through the core and that long right leg, we're just going to lift that left knee about 3 inches up off of the floor. So it's just hovering here. I've got a little bit of space. You can't quite see it because my leggings blend into my mat, but you've got a little bit of space underneath here. We're going to hold this for just another couple of seconds, keeping it nice and strong and steady. One more nice big inhale. And then exhale, let that knee come down. And then bring that right knee in. Don't worry, we'll come back to that side for a little more challenge in a minute. The left leg comes out. It gets its turn to stretch out a little bit. If those wrists need a little break, maybe take a little pressure off of them as you shift that foot forward and backward for that calf stretch. Finding that, pressing through the heel. Same thing if you've got those elbows down. And that little bit of forward and backward range of motion. All right, give me one more nice big stretch through this left calf. And then bringing it back to center, making sure that the elbows or the wrists are right underneath the shoulders. Tighten through that upper body, strengthen through the core, and then lift that right knee about 3 inches up off of your mat. So we're just kind of hovering up in this plank a little bit, really activating through the core. We're kind of creating a little bit of instability by not bringing the right back to meet the left. One more big inhale. That exhale releases that knee back down, bring that left knee in, and I just want you to give just a second for those shoulders and those wrists. Just take those knees wide, press the hips back towards the heels, give those shoulders a little stretch, and then we're going to go right back to it. So we're going to keep it moving today, we're going to keep it working, maybe give those wrists a roll or two, and then I want you to bring it right back out to those hands and knees. So we're just going to change this up by adding a little bit of range of motion to it. So I want you to take that right leg back long, plant those toes once again. From here, we're going to activate through that whole body. We're going to lift that left knee about 3 inches up off the floor. The range of motion that we're going to add is this knee is going to move side to side. So we're going to keep it bent, but I'm going to cross it underneath my body. So it's almost in line with my right elbow. And then I'm going to cross it away from my body. So it's a little bit outside of my left elbow. So from the front, that kind of looks like a pendulum here. My knee is moving side to side, and we're just going to stay in this range of motion for another couple of breaths. I want you to stay strong. My shoulders are working hard here. My wrists and my core are working hard here. Give me one more big inhale. And then with that exhale, bring that knee back to center, set it down, and we're going to bring that right knee in and just switch sides. So same thing on that left side.
So the left leg goes back.
Wrists are right underneath the shoulders, or elbows if you're down on the elbows. Like I said, totally fine, same concept. Strengthening through the upper body, find that tension, lift that right knee up. Here we go, same thing. We've got that crossing across the body, so finding a little range of motion there. And then on the outside, a little bit outside of that elbow. So same thing like a pendulum here, moving that knee side to side, keeping it bent, finding that strength, firing up through the core. Stick with me, you guys. Keep breathing. This is a challenging one. Or maybe my shoulders are just tired from Friday. For another nice deep inhale right here. And then that next exhale brings that right knee back to center, places it down. Bring that left knee in. One more time, little break in our child's pose. Take those knees wide. Sit those hips back. Bringing those shoulders a little break. Maybe bringing those wrists in a couple of nice circles. Taking a second. All right, we're gonna find that just one more time. I've got just one more upward modification for you. So after you've taken that second, go ahead and bring it back in. Last time on this, guys, and then we'll give those wrists and those shoulders a little bit of a break. Find a nice stretch up next. So same thing, planting those hands or those elbows down. Take that right foot back, plant those toes. Strengthen and tense through that upper body. Lift that left knee. This time, we're going to do the same thing across the body. So my left knee comes towards my right elbow. This time, when the left knee comes away from the body, all I'm going to do is lengthen that leg out, pull it back in, and then bring it across the body. So it's just a little bit of a lengthen, back in, and then across. We're going to do that just a couple of times here. And if you can't get that leg all the way straight, you just got a little bit of lengthening, that's okay. Give me 2 more nice deep breaths in this. I know my shoulders are burning, my core is working. You guys got this. Next big exhale brings that knee back to center, sets it down, pull that right leg in. We've just got one more here on that opposite side. So if those wrists need a little roll before we go back into it, give them that. And then when you're ready, last time, you guys, go ahead, plant those hands or those elbows, bringing that left leg back. Same thing last time, lift that right knee off, tense through the muscles, across the body, the knee is still bent, away from the body, we've got that lengthen, and then pulling it back in. So just a couple of more times here, you guys. You got it. Whew. Nice work. Way to go. 2 more deep breaths in this one. Stay strong, stay strong. We're working hard. Next big inhale, and then that exhale brings that knee to center, drops it down, pulls that left leg in, final time back to that child's pose for a nice little recovery. Knees are wide, toes are together, hips back towards the heels. Those arms can be long. Maybe you give the triceps a little stretch by bending at the elbows and pulling the hands towards the shoulders. Maybe you find a little lateral side to side, walking those hands, finding that nice stretch through the body. Whatever feels good here to take a second to recover. Nice. All right, if you found one side on that child's pose, just make sure you switch it up here. Okay, and we are going to move it on. But first, like I promised, a little stretch. Go ahead and bring it back up to those hands and knees. We're gonna find just a nice lateral stretch here. I want you to take that right leg one final time, press it out as if we were gonna pull up into a plank. We are not, don't you worry. From here, I want you to take that right leg and you're gonna cross it around behind that left foot. So I've got my right leg on the other side of my body, behind my left foot. From there, what I want you to do is take your eyes and bring them around your left shoulder. So we've got a whole ton of length from our right shoulder all the way to our right toes. Now, if you're feeling steady and stable in this position, you can take it just a little bit deeper by taking that right hand and bring it around to the outside of that left arm. So my right hand is on the outside of my left arm, my right leg is on the outside of my left leg, and I've got a whole ton of leg between my fingertips and my toes for this nice full body lateral stretch. Go ahead and bring it back to center, hands and knees. We're just going to switch over and do that on the other side. So that left leg this time extends out long as if we were going to go up into our plank. We're going to step it around to the outside of our right leg and take our eyes and look over our right shoulder towards our toes. Again, if you feel good here, this is fine. If you want to take that left hand, you can bring it around to the outside of that right hand. And I've got a whole ton of length from my left fingertips to my left toes. Next lateral stretch brings us back to center, hands and knees. And then from here, let's bring it up into our downward facing dog. So we had a whole ton of prep time for this. We got our calves nice and stretched out. We got our core nice and activated with those planks. And we're gonna keep it moving, you guys. So from here, all I want you to do is find a nice big inhale to take those hips up nice and high towards the ceiling, a little extra length. Our exhale floats our shoulders out over our wrists into our high plank. You can either drop those knees or keep it high, throw our chaturanga, lower it down, keep those elbows glued to the body. Our inhale presses the chest up. We've got our cobra or our up dog, and our exhale turns those toes over and presses those hips up and back. We're gonna go into our three-legged dog from here. So I want you to take that right foot and press it up and back. Now from this position, we're gonna find a hip opener. So you can either just open those hips towards that right wall and bend that right knee, or if you don't feel stable, just bend that knee and try and lift it up a little bit. So we've got a little bit of a hip opener. Now, if you feel pretty comfortable with it, you can flip your dog. So taking that right foot all the way to the other side, our left leg stays long, and our right arm comes up over top. So only if you're feeling stable. If you're in that three-legged dog and you need a little break, feel free to set it down and take a little break. Our next exhale is going to bring us all back over to that three-legged dog. So take that right hand, bring it back to the floor. That right leg goes back up towards the ceiling when you get there. And then we're going to sweep it forward into our low lunge. So bringing it forward, my ankle is right underneath my knee. Set that back knee down, let the top of that foot meet the mat. We're going to spend a moment here. So just press a little bit further forward. Nice stretch through that long left leg. And then we're going to stretch it back for our hamstrings. So shift those hips back, lengthen that front leg. The front toes come up. I'm just tenting my fingers on the floor for a little stability and hinging forward the hips for a nice hamstring stretch through this long front leg. From here, go ahead and shift it back forward into that low lunge. The full foot is on the floor. And then with your next inhale, I want you to sweep those arms up so that back knee is still on the floor. We're opening up a little bit through that left hip flexor and also through the chest as we look up. Now, if you feel stable here, what I want you to try and do is bring it up to our crescent. So curl that left toe under, strengthen through the core, press through that front leg, lift that back knee up. If you need a little help, take those hands down, bring that back knee up, and then sweep them back up and meet us in our crescent here. We're going to spend just a moment here so our back heels off the floor, our front knee is bent, we're nice and strong. Now from this position, we're going to take it to our standing split. So our hands are going to end up lining our front foot, and then our back leg is going to end up kind of in the air, but more likely for me pointing towards that back wall. So you can either bring the hands down first, or you can spring off of that back leg and lift that left leg up. Like I said, mine's kind of more towards that back wall. Still a little bit of bend through that right knee. Now you can stay here, or you can find a forward fold. If you'd like a little challenge, we'll bring this to our warrior three. So if you can, lifting those hands, bringing them towards that front wall, and taking this as a balance challenge. If you're not quite there today, feel free to keep those hands down on the floor, or maybe just lift one up and see if you've got a little bit of balance there. If you found that warrior three, go ahead and set that foot back down and bring it back to our crescent. If you had those hands down on that floor, same thing, bring that back foot down, bring it back to our crescent, nice and easy bend through both of those knees. Set that left foot down, or left knee down. Curl that toe so that the top of the foot meets the mat. Bring those hands down. And then we're just going to bring it back to our hands and knees. So sweep this left or right leg around so that the knee comes back to the floor. Nice work, you guys. Same thing on that other side. Here we go. Turn those toes under, press those hips up and back. Downward facing dog. We've got to start with our little sun salutation, low flow. Inhale, hips up and back. Exhale, float those shoulders out over those wrists. Now from the toes or from the knees, we're lowering down through our chaturanga and then bringing it to our cobra or up dog. Hips go up and back, turn those toes over, downward facing dog. From here, we've got our three-legged dog options. So first option is just to bring it to right here, three-legged dog. Left foot goes up and back. Second option, bends that knee, opens through that hip. When you get there, if you feel pretty good today, you can bring it to our flipped dog. That foot meets the floor, that right leg stays long, that left arm comes up over the head towards that opposite wall. Our next big exhale brings everyone up into that three-legged dog, so that left hand meets the floor again, that left leg is up and back, and then we're gonna sweep it forward into that lunge. Left ankle's right underneath that knee, right knee meets the mat, top of that right foot meets the mat. Shifting those hips backwards, we've got our hamstring stretch next. So go ahead and straighten that front leg, bring those toes up towards the ceiling, hinging forward at those hips. Nice little stretch, you can use those hands for a little support, or you can bring those fingertips down towards the toes. Next shift brings those hips back forward for that little bit of a hip flexor stretch in that low lunge. And then our next inhale sweeps those arms up to find our low lunge with our chest lifted, and we're sinking into those hips just a little bit. Now from here, same thing. If you can without using those hands, awesome. If you need to use those hands, totally fine as well. Curl that back toe under and then press through that front foot to lift it up into our crescent lunge. Take a second to readjust if you need to. Bring those arms back up nice and long. Next brings us to our standing split. So once again, those hands can come down to the mat first, and then you can lift that leg, or it can all kind of happen at once, bringing off that back leg, bringing those hands down, bringing that right foot up towards that back wall. If you feel good and have your balance here, you can lift those arms into our warrior three balance pose, taking a second to find a whole ton of length between those fingertips and that heel. Whew, nice work, you guys. Stretching out nice and long. Next exhale brings that back foot down, whether you had those hands down or not. And then go ahead and lift it up into our crescent one more time. Next exhale, nice and easy, bends through both of those knees. Set that back knee down. Curl that back foot so the top of it meets the mat. Bring those hands down, and the left foot comes around. So we're back at those hands and knees. Whew. All right, so taking a second here just to find a little break, maybe a cat and cow, maybe a child's pose, maybe a downward facing dog, whatever feels good for you. So just take a little recovery pose in either a range of motion or without, and coming back to your breath a little bit, giving your legs a little bit of a break. If one of the three poses that I mentioned doesn't sound good for you, you can find something else. All right, and then I'm gonna have everyone meet me very briefly in our downward facing dog. I've got one more little flow for us before we finish up our first 40 minutes. Like I said at the beginning of class, if you're ready to stick around for our last 20, I do have an extra 20 if you want a full 60-minute class, but if you don't have time for it, totally fine. I was happy to have you all through 40 minutes. So let's go ahead and bring it back up into that downward facing dog to get us ready for our last little bit of movement in our first 40 minutes here. We're going to take this pose to bring it into our pigeon. So I want you to take that right leg and bend it. And then we're going to shift those hips forward and bring that knee forward as we do that. But then I want you to set your shin down on the mat, sit those hips down right behind it. And then we're just going to find this nice comfortable position for a minute. So we've got a nice stretch. We're sitting our hips down nice and even. The more parallel your shin is towards the front of the mat, the more challenging this can be. But mine's folded in pretty far because my hips are kind of tight today. Back leg is long, and if it feels good, you can bring it down to those elbows or maybe all the way down so that your head meets the mat. Just finding a comfortable, or I know sometimes this isn't a super comfortable stretch, but a comfortable enough position to find this stretch here sitting down through those hips. All right, with that next inhale, if you found those elbows or you brought that head down, I want you to bring it back up to those palms. So the palms are down on the mat, and then all we're gonna do is shift so that that right hip meets the mat, and we bring that left leg around so that we're at a 90-90. So I'm gonna turn so you can see me, but you don't have to turn. So I'm at a 90-90 here. This one is still full. So this was the one that was long. It's folded under. This one's still right where it was. We're going to find our mermaid side to side once in each direction. We're going to go towards that leg first. So towards the left side, bring that left hand on the outside, and then that right arm up over top. Nice big stretch here. And then we're going to change directions. So this right hand is actually going to still come out long. I'm going to bring my right elbow down, and then that left arm comes up over top. So a little bit deeper of a stretch on this side for that mermaid. Big inhale brings us back to center using your core, pressing off that right hand. We're going to bring this left leg around so that it's in front of us. So our right leg was folded under in our pigeon. Our left leg is now in front. We're going to roll it backwards. So go ahead and bring it on down backwards. Bend that right knee, plant that foot. That left leg is still long up towards the ceiling. Single leg glute bridge from here. So that foot is planted, our right leg, and then we're going to press those hips up. That left foot goes towards the ceiling for a little hold here. You can use those hands for stability. If you need to bring that left leg down and use it to support you, that's totally okay. But little challenge is keeping that leg up in the air. Next big exhale brings those hips down. Cross that left ankle over that right knee. Let both of those legs fall to the right side. Those arms come out into a T. We look over that left shoulder, spinal twist. Inhale brings those knees back to center. Lengthens that left leg up towards the ceiling. Grabbing at the calf, using a little momentum, sitting us up. All right, fold that right leg in so that we can swing it back around towards our pigeon. So I'm going to shift my weight towards my right. My left leg comes around behind. Plant those hands. Curl that left toe under. Lift the hips. Right comes back to meet the left, downward facing dog. All we've got left is that on the other side, you guys. So take that left knee, bend it, shift those hips down, place that shin on the floor, hips sit down right behind it. Same thing. If you've got a comfortable position here, you can bring it down to the elbows, or you can bring the head down to the mat, finding that nice stretch through those hips. All right, if you found the elbows, you brought the head down, go ahead and find those palms. Once again, we're going to shift it onto that left hip. We're going to bring that right knee in so we're at our 90-90. We're going to go towards those legs first. We've got our nice 90-90 here. Left leg is still in front. Right hand comes to the outside of that right leg. Left arm comes up over top. Nice, same thing other side. That left hand comes down nice and long. That elbow comes down if it feels good. That right arm comes up over top. Nice big stretch. Our inhale brings us back to center. Our final stretch, or our final piece of work that we've got here, we're bringing this right leg around so that it's facing the front. We're pulling it up and we're laying on back, planting that left foot, bending that left knee. Right foot goes up towards the ceiling. Lift those hips up, single leg glute bridge. Nice work, you guys. Next big exhale sets those hips down. That right ankle crosses over that left knee. Those arms come out wide. Both legs go down to the left. We look over that right shoulder, spinal twist. Our inhale brings us back to center. We lengthen that right leg one more time just to sit us up. Okay, so like I said, moving it to our backs with those knees bent and the feet planted. So we just did those real quick spinal twists, but I wanted to spend just another moment in our spinal twists. So go ahead and take that right ankle, cross it over that left knee, take those arms out nice and long, and we're gonna let both legs fall to the left side. So that right leg kind of comes down underneath that left leg. And then we're gonna look over that right shoulder in the opposite direction of those legs for a nice spinal twist here. Taking a moment to find a couple of deep breaths as we do this and allowing those exhales to let your lower back release and relax. We're going to find a couple of inversions here today. So giving our arms a little bit of a chance to recover, but also just our whole body a chance to unwind and release here. Let's let that next inhale bring those knees back to center. We're going to switch those directions. So the left ankle now is going to cross over that right knee. Both legs are going to come down towards the right side. And then we're going to look over that left shoulder for our spinal twist in the opposite direction. All right, next inhale, go ahead and bring those knees back to center. And then I want you to just pull those knees in towards the chest, giving us just another moment for a brief little recovery before we get moving again. Maybe rocking a little bit side to side or in little circles, giving your lower back a nice little massage with the floor. And then I want you to go ahead, bend those knees and plant those feet. So back to where we were when we started here. All right, so we're gonna work just a little bit on a small activation before we move forward with our inversions here. And we're gonna build up to plow today. So a little bit of back bending and a little bit of, like I said, inversions. The feet are gonna be up in the air. But first, I want you to take the palms and place them on the floor. And they can be in close to the hips. They can be out a little wider, wherever is comfortable for you. And then we're going to do an activation that is just us pressing into the floor. So the hands, the feet, the hips, the head, the shoulders are all going to press into the floor, and we're going to activate through all those muscles. So with your next inhale, that's what I want you to do. Activating the muscles, pressing down into the floor as hard as you can. And it might feel weird because you're not moving, but thinking about activating through the core, through the arms, through the neck as you press down, through the legs as you press the bottoms of those feet, and the hips towards the floor. Next big exhale lets us relax and release, letting that floor take a little break from that pressure that we just gave it. And then we're going to do that just twice more here. So with that next big inhale, starting that activation, pressing down, thinking about all the muscles you can think of to activate and tense and tighten, maybe even the muscles in the face. And then that next big exhale releases and relaxes. Last time, just like that. This time I want you to start by bracing through the core. So your next inhale starts by bracing through the core, tightening through the abs, and then pressing down through the hands, the feet, the hips, the head, keeping the core braced nice and tight, nice and strong. And next big exhale releases and relaxes. Go ahead and take those feet up towards the ceiling here. You're going to have a slight little bend through those knees. Once again, as an activation, we're going to find some leg lowers. So those hands can stay out wide, or you can pull them under those hips for a little more support here. And just nice and easy, even pace, taking the feet down towards the floor, keeping the lower back strong and stable, and then bringing them back up towards the ceiling. So we're not in any kind of rush here. We're just getting the core moving once again, getting it going, and reconnecting with our breath as we find this movement too. Nice. Give me just 2 more of those at whatever pace you're moving. 2 more leg lowers, and then giving them just a tiny little break before we move on, pulling the knees in towards the chest. All right. So next thing we're going to do is just going to be a tiny little hip lift. So it's not even going to be our full jackknife yet, where the hips go almost all the way up into our shoulder stand, but we're just going to do a little hip lift. So I want you to take those feet up towards the ceiling, We're gonna pull the hands out from underneath the hips if that's where they were and plant them just kind of right outside of the hips for a little support. And then we're gonna do that activation through the core. So I want you to strengthen through the core, really tense there and activate it there, bracing, and then you're just gonna do a couple little hip lifts. So taking those feet up towards the ceiling, taking those hips up off of the floor, but trying not to make it super hard of a landing. So kind of rolling up and then rolling back down, trying to soften your landing onto the floor. And it doesn't even have to come up a whole ton, maybe an inch or two, maybe you've got a little bit more. We're just gonna do 4 more nice little lifts here. Brace through the core, activating. Nice. When you finish those 4, same as before, just give those legs a tiny little break, let the knees bend. Taking just a second here, and we are going to move into our supported shoulder stand next. So our first thing to get us there is going to be that little hip lift. So once again, go ahead and take those feet up towards the ceiling. Our supported shoulder stand is going to lift the hips. Our hands are going to catch the hips and kind of brace the lower back. So I'm going to start with my hands on the floor to give me that little bit of a lift. I'm bracing through the core and pressing them up towards the ceiling. Then I adjust my hands so that they find my lower back and move my elbows under so that they're really supporting my hips here. Trying to keep my head kind of centered because moving it side to side can be a little bit uncomfortable, but keeping our core strong and braced so that we're not letting the lower back round out and kind of bring that little bit of extra pressure there. But that's why we worked on those activations in that hold, because this is just a little hold with an activation and a little bit more pressure through those arms and through the back. Nice job, you guys. Next exhale, nice and easy. Just go ahead and shift those hips back down towards the floor. Release those hands. Give it just a tiny little bit of a break here. We're going to adjust that into more of a Pilates core exercise. Like I mentioned before, it's called the jackknife. So all this does is brings us a range of motion and kind of takes that support out, but you can still use the hands to support if you need them at the top end. For our jackknife, those feet point up towards the ceiling, and it's just a range of motion similar to our hip lifts, but we're taking it up into that supported shoulder stand almost. So I'm going to start from here, use my hands for a brace. My jackknife brings me up. I use my hands still to support, and then nice and slow, bring it back down towards the floor. If you don't quite have that today, I want you to just take it right back to those little hip lifts. But if you can, we're taking it up and then nice and easy and controlled, bringing it back down for a couple of times into that jackknife. Now, this takes a lot of core, so working on that activation, like I said, if you're not quite there, just giving me those little hip lifts, trying to bring them up a little bit higher with each rep. And that nice exhale brings us up and then brings us back down. Nice job, you guys. Couple more of these. I know these are kind of tough, but working on strengthening that core so that when we bring it into our plow, it's activated and ready to go. Give me 3 more. You've got 3 more in you, and then bend those knees and pull them in towards the chest for a little break. Rolling again a little bit side to side or in little circles. Maybe you pull the head in a little bit, give it a break in this direction. Maybe you find a spinal twist here, so planting those knees and kind of just planting the feet, letting the knees kind of windshield wiper a little bit. All right, so I've got one more progression before we hit our plow. If this progression is a little bit challenging for you, same as with that jackknife, you've always got those little hip lifts. You can just take it up into supported shoulder stand, or you can just find those jackknives. Now this one, another Pilates move, is our corkscrew. It's almost exactly the same as the jackknife, but when you get to the very top, all you're gonna do is turn those hips and bring it down on one side. So I'll show you once here. And then we can kind of get started moving in the option that works for you. So for our corkscrew, we're starting in that jackknife. It brings us up. Like I said, we're turning the hips then, and then bringing it down to one side. So I'm almost on my left hip here when I get down, and then I'm just going to shift back to center, bring my hips back to the center, and then go back at it. So it's up into that jackknife, we turn, we bring it down, and then we readjust back to center. Like I said, if that's a little challenging, sticking with those hip lifts, sticking with that supported shoulder stand, or sticking with those jackknives is totally fine. Just wanted to give you guys an option to take it up a little bit in challenge here. So a little more control involved in getting the hips up and being able to turn them sideways. Nice work, you guys. Good, looking good. Give me 2 more of those, or 3 if you need to even out those sides. And then same thing, one more time before we hit that plow. I want you to go ahead and pull the knees in towards the chest and give the back a little bit of a break. Now, while you're resting, I wanted to give you kind of an option for plow. If it's not super comfortable for you, I've actually got my couch behind me, and it's kind of an option that you can take for your plow. So when you bring it into it, instead of having a space for the feet to reach the ground, having something for them to land on over the head. So our plow brings the hips up still, and ideally the feet would meet the ground. But if you had a couch nearby and you wanted to practice it here, this helps me keep my spine nice and long. But if you want to bring it into that full plow, we will hit that next. So from your recovery position, I want you to take those feet one more time back up towards the ceiling. And then I promise after this, we'll change up our range of motion a little bit and bend in the opposite direction, give you guys a little bit of a break from that. So those feet are going to go up into our jackknife, and then nice and controlled, we're just going to bring them down towards the floor over our head, keeping our core braced and strong. So they go up, and then the feet come down, and the hips go up a little bit longer. So we want to make sure that we're not just kind of collapsing into this, but our core stays strong and stays long, and keeping it braced and keeping our neck nice and long. Like I said, if you've got something behind you and you wanted to use that for a little support, sometimes that gives you a little more space. And then those hands, couple options. You can take them out long. You can bring them to those hips if that feels good. Or you can interlace them and bring them out long underneath those shoulders, just like you might in a bridge. Now, at the point that this gets uncomfortable, I don't want you to feel like you need to hold it any longer. So you can pull it back down. We're going to spend 2 more nice deep breaths here if this is okay. So 1 more big inhale, and then another exhale. And then the last one, big inhale. And then exhale, and then nice and easy, you can use those hands for support, rolling it back on down, and then bringing those feet to the floor, knees bent. Let those knees fall to that right side. Look over that left shoulder. Our inhale brings us through center. Just go ahead and switch it up. Spinal twist other way. Giving the low back a little bit of a release. All right, bring those knees back to center. We're going to spend a moment in our happy baby here. So I want you to pull those knees back in towards the chest. We're just going to separate those knees just a little bit. I'm going to reach on the inside. Now I like to take my pointer finger and my middle finger and hook them inside my big toe. You can just grab the inside or the outside of the feet, and then we're just gonna pull the feet up towards the ceiling with the knees bent, and then it's just a little rock side to side, or maybe in little circles, wherever is comfortable here, finding a little stretch for the hips, but also a little release for the low back. Maybe it feels good to find a stretch for the hamstrings, so you alternate lengthening one leg and then the other. All right, go ahead and release those feet, bring them back down towards the floor. One more little stretch on our back. I want you to take the soles of the feet together, bring them down towards the floor. We've got our reclined butterfly here. So the soles of the feet are together, the knees are wide. And then whatever's comfortable here as far as the stretch goes, so you can maybe place those hands on the inner thighs and give them a little pressure. Maybe you reach the arms up overhead, nice and long. You find the stretch through the upper body. Maybe it's just nice and even, hands on the hips or on the belly.
All right, go ahead and release that. Rolling it up to seated.
Okay, and then we're just gonna reverse the direction that our spine has been in all along. So I just want us to bring it up into a baby cobra or a cobra. So rolling it over onto your mat, on your stomach. So depending on how you are feeling here, baby cobra has those elbows down and just shines that chest forward, lifting the chin. Our cobra can bring us all the way up on those palms with the chest shining forward and the chin lifted. If you feel particularly good, you can bring the thighs off the floor into your up dog, but totally optional here. This is just kind of a nice recovery pose to take the spine in the opposite direction that it just was for all of that hard work that we did with the core. You guys killed it. That was tough, but you were awesome. Next exhale brings the chest back down towards the floor. We're going to bring those hips up as we bring them onto our knees, and then our final release brings us into our child's pose. So knees come wide, toes come close together, hips towards the heels, arms out long, nice big stretch here. Find that little release through the lower back. Next inhale, walks those hands in, and we can go ahead and sit it on up. All right, and then I'm just gonna shift my hips to one side and bring it over in a comfortable seated. I just wanna find a couple of nice easy spinal twists before we finish out today. So same thing, just kind of unwinding the work that we did through our core there. So same spinal twists that we started with at the pace of your breath. An inhale finds us that long spine. An exhale twists us in one direction or the other. And then once again, if the hold here feels awesome, feel free to hold it. If it feels better to move a little bit side to side, feel free to move with the pace of your breath. If you find that hold, I'll let you know when we're at about halfway through this one. And you can just switch once if that's what feels good for you to finish this out. All right, so if you found one direction, I want you to go ahead and switch it up. Second direction for me here. If you're moving, give me a couple more spinal twists. All right, everyone, give me one more nice deep breath. That inhale brings us through center, that exhale to one side. And then the next inhale brings us back to our center. Great, you guys. Same as the last meeting, if you could drop which site you're in into the chat box or answer that survey. I very much appreciate all of your survey responses every week. Finishing out with two nice deep breaths. Our first one, leading with those arms, is the inhale, pulling it out and up. As we exhale, circle them down and around. The second one, those palms meet overhead. Big inhale out and up. Palms meet right overhead. Exhale to pull them down through heart center. The light in me honors the light in all of you. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Bowing as we say, namaste.